Okay. Okay. All right. It looks like we are live. And let me see if I can pull up the video. I'm about a minute late. About a minute late today. It's a little bit optimistic on the start time. But we got within 2 minutes, coming up on 2 minutes late as of right now. So it looks like Joey is in the house. And all right. So I'm wearing a little bit dated cashmere sport coat. One of my favorites from back in the day. A little bit wider lapels than I would normally wear, but this just feels so nice, this cashmere. So I figured I would treat myself to that today. It's a little bit chilly here. Of course, we're too cheap to run the heat. You guys know how that works. And I have the 005 Stunner on wrist, and we're going to talk about a perfect 3-watch combination and the possible perfect 3-watch combination. You know, we're always looking for watches that we can actually wear and use on this channel. We're not into collecting watches. We're into actually wearing and using watches. And right now I've got a 2-watch rotation. I've got the 005 on wrist here as a watch that slips underneath the cuff to force into dress type situations. This is 12 millimeters thick and about 38.5 mils, I think, case size, something like that, maybe 39, somewhere like that. And so it works in a pinch as a dress watch, trim enough to be used as a dress watch, in my opinion. It's a great all-arounder, has a screw-down crown. But there are other options for dress purposes. And before we get on to that, we're going to look at the diver, the titanium diver stunner, and that's what I use for my heavy use, daily use. Some people call it, excuse me, some people call it a beater watch, but I wouldn't call it a beater watch. I just call it a daily use watch for normal situations where the watch could take some abuse and take a pounding and keep on ticking. So so there's that watch, and then of course the watch I have on wrist now. And now I am pondering, I'm thinking about another piece. I'm thinking about adding another piece to the rotation. And let me pull up some photos here. And we've showed this watch before and talked about this watch before. This is a SBGY002. SBGY002. This is an 18 karat gold stunner, and it's a watch that came out last year, I believe. Then there's the platinum version, and there's another look at the gold version. There's another look on wrist. I do like the case design. Nice shape to it. It's 10 mils thick. I guess they're comparing it to some other watches here. I guess that's all we had for that watch up at the top. But it's about 10 mils thick. So let me see if I can pull up another nice photo of it here. See what this one looks like here. See, I'm going to this Pinterest collection here, if you will. That's not working. Well, anyway, I've also shown this video by Tim.
Is honoring a technology 20 years old. The proportion. So this 20th anniversary watch is graceful in yellow gold at 38.5 millimeters. Grand Seiko Elegance. Watchbox.com launched for 2019 in honor of the 20th anniversary of the original 1999 manual wind spring drive.
That dress watch is very interesting in that it is a manual wind watch. It has the spring drive, so it's going to be super accurate. It's going to have that beautiful sweeping second hand. And the second hand is blued, so it kind of looks cool. And with a 72-hour power reserve, you know, if you are wearing it for several days and you just wind it on even days, for example, you're good to go. And I would prefer that, if it's a occasional use watch, to an auto wind. We've talked about this on the channel before, that if I was going to get a nice like Patek Philippe or something, I would want to get a manual wind, because you just wind it up, set the time, and I wouldn't want the date as well. Just wind it up, set the time, you're good to go. And I think that's a good way to go with the dress watch, especially if you have a 72-hour power reserve. That gives you a nice, a lot of wiggle room there. And if you got something that's super accurate like the spring drive, you're not giving up any accuracy. And something that's extremely reliable like a Grand Seiko, you're not worrying about expensive servicing costs or any of those kinds of things. So it could just possibly be a fantastic dress watch option. I think it's about 38.5 mils by 10 mils, 10.5, something like that, is the size on that dress watch stunner. So let me know what you all think about that. I mean, right now I've got a 2-watch rotation. I've got the 005 on wrist, and I've got the 231 to wear as a sport watch. Let me know what you think about adding a gold stunner. Let me see if I can find another decent photo. Yeah, I think this is a good article. I think this one I've shown before. Yeah, I think this is a better article. I should have shown this one first. On a blog to watch. And let this load in. From what I recall, he's got some really good photos in here. Yeah, there's a stunner on wrist. So take a look at that. Let me know what you think about that. And we'll go on through here and see. I think he's got some other good photos. There's a breakout of the movement, I guess. Definitely check this out, a blog to watch. If I remember, I'll add it to the show notes. There's the platinum version that is just absolutely stunning. And I believe it comes, the platinum version comes 2 different ways, but there's also the steel version. And the steel version is a limited production. The gold one, from what I understand, what I've confirmed, is not. Now there's a platinum one, again. Pretty stunning, but I like the yellow gold. And there, I believe, is, I don't know if that's the, I don't know if the platinum comes in polished and in that textured, more traditional casing grain. Okay. But the one that I've got my eye on, of course, is the that one, the 18 karat yellow gold. 18 karat yellow gold stunner. So, and it has the deployant clasp. Let me know what you think. Those of you that have used a dress watch like this with a deployant clasp, let me know what you think about those. Do they center nicely on the wrist? Does it, of course, depend on the size of your wrist? That's an issue that you sometimes have with these leather straps. Like my other gold stunner, it was really set up to be on a smaller wrist because it didn't center. The clasp didn't center, so I would have had to have gotten a different strap, different lengths on the one side to get that clasp to center. I'm wondering how they center the clasp on these deployant clasps, how they deal with that. Or maybe I'll just get lucky and it'll center nicely on my wrist. So chime in on the chat, Let me know if you have any feedback on the deployant clasp. I do like the concept of being able to set it and then just unlatch it and latch it back and not have to adjust it every time. More like a traditional clasp. I do prefer that than feeding it through and, you know, like a typical old-fashioned clasp that you have on a leather strap. that was kind of a little bit of a pain on the other watch, putting it on and off every time. So the deployant clasp would probably solve that problem, but let me know, because I have no experience with it. Let me know what you guys think about the deployant clasps, if you know what I'm referring to. Greg says hi from Raleigh. And we've got some folks from Holland. And somebody said Richard Milley. Yeah, we'd pass on that. Don't freeze your pipes, Craig. Cheap might cost thousands in plumbing repair. Well, no, it's not that cold here. We keep it above 50 degrees. Yeah, we do that. No, it's probably 60 degrees in here right now. So, which is a little chilly, but, you put a nice cashmere sport coat on and 60 degrees feels perfect. So that's how we do it around here. And you do save money, trust me. You bump that up to like 68 and the price of heating goes way up. Okay, so let's see here. Hello from Annapolis. Okay, cool. We've got somebody in Annapolis. Brianna's in your neck of the woods. The lovely Brianna, BrieFitDance.com. You should meet up with her. Have a little meet up with Brianna. Take her to lunch. That's what you should do. Joey is in the house. SBGY002, retail $25,000. You think you should go back to a Rolex Date 8 for the money? Joey in the house. Very good question. Very good question. And Dudley asked the same question. And here's my thought process on that. The reason that I sold my Date 8 in the first place is the legibility of the dial. And I was using it as a daily wear watch. And so as a daily wear watch, I want that really good visibility. So now my daily wear watch is that diver. So I've got that segment covered. And I wouldn't want to buy a Date 8 just to use as a specialty dress watch. If I bought a Date 8, that would be a daily driver. And I would give up the accuracy of the Grand Seiko spring drive, which I'm really not willing to give up at this point. I've gotten spoiled by the accuracy. So I'm thinking that this watch here would give me the accuracy, and it would be more of a specialty dress watch than the Date 8. And so it would fill that niche of a nice, elegant dress watch and not have the problems associated with the Date 8 for daily use, if that makes any sense. So that's why I'm leaning towards the 002 Gold Stunner. And I've never had a really nice dress watch on a leather strap. I had that other Grand Seiko that I sold, but I haven't really had a high-end dress watch on a strap with a deployant clasp. And so I'd be breaking new ground here for sure. But Joey, yes, if I had younger eyes, I would have probably never sold my Date 8 in the first place. The legibility issue would have not been a problem. But yeah, it is. So there's that. Looks very nice watch, and you love GS. I like the texture in the dial. Yeah, it's the snowflake dial. Well, hopefully, Carlos, we're going to be rendezvousing in the spring sometime when you're in town, and hopefully you can bring your Patek, and we could compare the two, because there's none in the country right now. There are none of these watches in the country right now. Steve is trying to get a hold of one so I can look at it in the flesh. I would never buy any watch sight unseen. So hopefully he will get one that I'll be able to see, touch, and feel. And then I can make a more informed... I measure 7 times and cut once on when I'm buying a watch. There's never a hasty... I'm not going to make a hasty purchase here. But I would love to compare it, Carlos, to your Patek. I do not have deployment in my Patek. Okay, considered to be purchased, but it's around $4,000 just for the clasp. The strap is different than the buckle. Patek straps are around $700. Okay, so we can't compare the deployant because you didn't buy the deployant. Okay, I got it. Craig, I've always had better luck with tang buckles versus deployants. I have a tang buckle on my Patek Calatrava, and it centers better than my deployant on my JLC Reverso. Good, good information. Good information. So yeah, we'll see how all that works out. That's the wild card in this whole thing, is how that's going to work out. Okay, so somebody's from Pakistan in the house. And we got another afternoon. Where are you located? Okay, so I'm in Thurmont right now. Thurmont, Maryland, which is near Camp David, near the presidential retreat, is where I'm located right this minute. And there was a message held for review. Thoughts on the SBGE249 Blizzard. SBGE249. SBGE249. Let's pull that puppy up and see what we've got. Interesting. I wonder if it's a current model or not, because it's not coming up on the Grand Seiko website. It's a limited edition. Spring Drive, GMT. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting piece. I wonder how thick that piece is. I wonder what the thickness is. Do you happen to know? Let me know in the chat. It says it's a 41 mil watch. So, and I'm guessing that particular model has a screw-down crown. I think it would be a fun watch. It doesn't have any lume, so depending on the thickness of it, if it's not super thin, I'd probably get one of the GMT sport watches. I'd probably get the titanium sport watch because it has micro adjustments in the clasp, at least most of them that I've seen have, and you get the benefit of the titanium. So I don't know what you're looking for. If you're looking for a sport watch or something you can use as an all-arounder, that would be an interesting alternative to a Snowflake because you get the GMT function and you get a similar look, but you're not getting the titanium. I'm a big fan of the titanium on Grand Seikos, so yeah, I would look that direction as well, but I don't think you can go wrong with that 249 for sure. I mean, I'm impressed with how much positive talk GS is getting on YouTube vis-a-vis Rolex and Omega. Hi, Craig. Hi, all. I think people are starting to realize that it's a pretty high-quality watch, especially for the money. I think people are starting to wake up, and those that just really want a better watch and aren't concerned with the name on their watch as much, the brand, if you will, and they just want a really good watch, I think they're taking a serious look at Grand Seiko. How about the Oris Oscar Peterson edition? It's cool and has piano keys for hour markers. There you go. Well, I'll tell you what, we should get Steve to come on and do a really in-depth Oris show because he's an Oris dealer. He's an AD. So why don't you guys reach out to Steve and see if you can get him to do an in-depth Oris show. That would really be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So interesting feedback on the deployant clasp. So we're getting mixed comments on the deployant clasp. Of course, it may be a little bit different with the Grand Seiko. The design might be a little different. Who knows? But I don't know how they handle that centering issue. Maybe you can order the one portion of the strap a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, to try to, because the one side is what determines it. The what would normally be the buckle side. That's probably what determines how centered it is going to be on your wrist, the length of that. So my guess is you could have something custom made for sure. I mean, there are ways you could get it centered. You just have to pony up the money, right? Let's see here. But smartwatches like Samsung and also of Apple, do you think we should get Rolex? But smartwatches like Samsung and also of Apple, I guess, are you asking, should we get Rolex or some other brand, or should you just get an Apple Watch? Well, an Apple Watch, especially the newer one, I'm sure is fantastic. I have the Series 1, and that was a pretty good watch. So I think that the Apple Watch is a pretty fantastic piece. Now, mine is the stainless steel with the stainless steel link bracelet, which is extremely comfortable on wrist and very high quality. I have videos on my channel here. I wore the Apple Watch for 2 years, believe it or not. And I was in rotation with the Date 8 at that time. And it's a heck of a watch. They really are. And the thing I don't like about them, the reason I'm not wearing one today, is at the time they didn't have where they're on all the time. Now the newest version is on all the time, but it dims a little bit. It's not full brightness all the time. So I don't know if I would like that either. I think if they came out with one that was on all the time and at full brightness all the time, that would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool, but they're not there yet, so I'm still in the Grand Seiko camp. And I like an analog watch. I like a watch that I can just kind of look at and the time's right there. I don't really need notifications and all that kind of thing on my watch, because when I'm out and about and doing business, I've got all my notifications muted anyway. The only thing that comes through is VIP contacts. Their text messages come through, but everything else is muted when I'm out and about doing business. So that's how that all works. I mean, we can get at a lower price, so we pay huge money for Rolex. Some people are paying huge money for Rolex, especially the steel sport models, and I think they're going to have a rude awakening. I think they're going to get burned. I don't think that's going to end well, but we'll see. I'm getting ready to buy my first luxury watch. I've had a bunch of beaters, but you are one of the ones that really got me looking at Grand Seiko. So under $2,000, can you get a good sport Grand Seiko? Absolutely. I'm not sure what your definition of sport is, but kind of sporty, if you will. You're going to find some used steel and gold with the 9F movement on eBay. Do some searching on eBay, and you'd be surprised what you will find under $2,000 in decent looking watches. And depending on the size of your wrist, if you're willing to buy a smaller watch, like a 36 mil watch, there's a huge selection. The bigger ones are a little bit harder to get and a little bit more expensive, but still under $2,000, you're going to find a lot of possibilities in all steel and in steel and gold. I think so. Primarily with the 9F movement, but the Grand Seiko with a 9F is a hell of a piece. It's nothing to sneeze at. It really isn't. Craig, my spring drive is plus 2 seconds per month. Is this acceptable? Yeah, I mean, plus is good because it's very easy to, after 3 or 4 months, just unscrew it and stop it for a few seconds and, and get it right back in sync. Plus 2 seconds per month is yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at. I'm lucky. Mine is like a half a second fast a month. I mean, mine is insanely accurate, but that's not normal. But yeah, 2 seconds a month. Yeah, ask any Rolex owner. They would be over the moon to have that kind of accuracy. How do you see the spring drive movements in the long term when they become obsolete technology? Would they survive? Yeah, they're going to survive. They're a very simple. They are. I shouldn't say simple. They are very robust in that they do not have a battery. They do not have a capacitor. They don't have anything to store electricity. The power is stored in the mainspring and is generated by the mainspring. And the actual electronic components in it are very robust and designed to be very robust. And because it doesn't have an escapement mechanism, it's actually a more robust movement than a typical all mechanical movement. So it really is a movement that's designed to run for decades without any issues. It's extremely robust. So, and if it ever needs to be fixed, certainly Grand Seiko can service it. They even service them in New Jersey now. So yeah, certainly it will be able to be serviced, and the parts will be available because they've used the same parts for years. And so the parts are going to be available. It shouldn't be any problem at all. I don't anticipate any problem with that issue. I mean, one thing if they made them for a year or two and then stopped making them, right? But they've been making them for years, and there's no plans to stop making them. And the main parts that are the components of that electronic system and all are very consistent. So I think you're going to be good to go. What's your opinion on see-through backs and kinetic watches? Again, kinetic has, I think they usually have a capacitor or something to store the energy, and that's what fails. I had a problem. I had a Seiko Kinetic that I bought at Costco. That there's a review here on the channel. It failed. I had to return it. Fortunately, Costco has a real good return policy, so I returned it. I'm not a fan of those technologies. If I want a watch that's powered by a battery or whatever, I'd get a 9F. I'd get a Grand Seiko with the 9F movement and make sure I use high quality batteries in it so they don't leak and damage it or something. But you use high quality batteries and a Grand Seiko with a 9F, I think you're going to have really good luck for many decades. Just replace that battery every 3 years and you're good to go. Thought on the Milgauss Blue Dial. The Milgauss is, in my opinion, needlessly thick. I don't think we need the shielding of that Faraday cage. I personally, I've never had a watch fail due to magnetism. So now if you're in an environment where you're around a lot of magnets, big magnets or whatever, and you've had issues with that and you need an anti-magnetic watch, absolutely get something like that, or get a Omega, get something that's highly anti-magnetic. But I've never had a problem in 40 years of wearing Rolexes and now almost 2 years wearing Grand Seikos. I've never had anything get magnetized and have issues. So I'm not worried about it. So I don't want the extra thickness that a Milgauss would give you. I'd rather go with like an Explorer and have it be a little thinner. And I'd just go with the Explorer and be done with it. Or an Oyster Perpetual, just something else, right? And it's not have that extra thickness of the Milgauss. I have the feeling that you are able to stand the accuracy. You would be very happy with the diver and a day-date. And here's the other problem, Carlos, with rotating and a day-date. And this is the problem that I had. I mean, I had the problem. Is it was not easy to keep both running. You know, there would be times when I would just not wear the day-date enough and it would stop, or I would not wear the sport watch enough and it would stop. Back when I was rotating the day-date with like a GMT Master, for years I was doing that, and I had to pay kind of attention and make sure that I wore the day-date enough that it didn't stop. And every time it stops, you got to resynchronize everything and all that, and it's just kind of a pain in the neck. And I just got tired of it. And so so that's why the last dress watch I had, you'll recall, was a 9F. So that doesn't matter. It's going to keep running. It doesn't need to be on the wrist. This, of course, is a 9F movement. So I can rotate this with the diver, and as long as I'm wearing the diver enough, I'm good to go. I don't have to worry about this stopping. So in a 2-watch rotation, it can sometimes be tricky to give one, to make sure they're both getting enough wrist time, believe it or not. And the day-date needed a fair amount of wrist time to keep running. It needed about 8 hours out of 48 in order to keep running. 8 hours of active time, right? So yeah, that started becoming a problem, and it was a little bit worrisome. Now, if I was going to wear the day-date really often, absolutely the day-date. But again, the legibility problem. That's the problem with my old eyes, Carlos. When you get to be my age, you'll see what I'm talking about. Let's see here. Do you trust eBay? I bought my gold, that 18 karat gold Grand Seiko dress watch, $3,200, $3,300, whatever. It came from Japan. I bought it on eBay and had a great result. Now, I can't speak for everybody's results. I mean, obviously, do some research on the seller, see what you can find out. But I think you can have a successful transaction there. And a lot of the sales are guaranteed. If there's a problem, you can reverse it to make sure that that's available on the item that you're buying. So, yeah, I think it's worth. I mean, I took a chance and worked out. So there you go. I've had a Seiko Kinetic for 14 years, very, very reliable. Tim in the house, he's had really good results with a Kinetic. I'm sure a lot of people have. I just had a bad result with it, and so it left kind of a sour taste in my mouth. But I guess a lot of people probably do have good results with them. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't still be selling them. But yeah. I love your GS Diver. It's a pretty amazing watch and so comfortable on wrist because of the shape of the case. It's not just the weight of the titanium. People think, well, it's because it's lighter weight because of the titanium. It's also the shape of the case, the way it's nice and rounded and all. You know, it's not like a Rolex Super case with the real sharp edges and all that. This is nice and rounded, and so it's very comfortable on wrist. Even the bracelet, the edges of the bracelet are nice and rounded. So it's a very pleasurable watch to wear, very comfortable on wrist. Even this watch, which is stainless steel, is very comfortable on wrist because, again, the finishing on the bracelet, the edges and all are nicely rounded. Okay, let me give you a close-up here. And you could see there how it drapes nicely around the wrist. These watches are really engineered to feel good and fit good on the wrist. And that's something that Rolex back in the day, the vintage watches, I think did a better job of. And then they've gone to these chunky, like, super case designs and so forth. Now, the Yacht-Master still has a nice rounded case. The Day-Date, of course, still has a nice rounded case. The DATEJUST. So some of them are still really good, but some of them have gotten chunky and they've gotten away from the design being designed to be comfortable on wrist, and they've designed them to look good on macro shots on the internet, right? They're more concerned with what it looks like than the function. So yeah, that diver, it's a long way of saying that diver is comfortable on wrist. Absolutely, it is. Let's see. I am starting to think on going back to Panama, but I am starting to think on going back to Panama. Okay, well, I thought you were living in Panama, but you were just visiting Spain. I didn't know. Did you actually move to Spain? Okay, I'm confused now, Carlos. I hope you and your wife are having a wonderful time. Well, I'm not married at this point in time, but I'm having a wonderful time, and my ex-wives, I'm sure, are having wonderful times. I'm actually in touch with my ex-wife, and she's doing fine. Let's see here. Okay, blue. The Z Blue is a beautiful watch. Yes, we're having a great time. Thank you. Where in Spain? Now in Madrid. I thought the Z Blue Milgauss looked great versus the white dial. I'd pass on the white Milgauss. Blue in the house. Nice. Blue in my case. I love the white Milgauss. Okay. I think they're good-looking watches. For me, I don't need the magnetic, I'll just say magnetic properties. I don't need that. So I wouldn't want to take the thicker watch penalty because of that, right? Because there's a Faraday cage around that, right? So, let's see. Thoughts on G-Shock Solar? I have no idea. My guess is they're pretty good. I have a G-Shock that's 20 or 30 years old that finally kind of just fell apart. I mean, it finally gave up the ghost. But yeah, the plastic and everything just deteriorated. It just like literally fell apart. Blue, I have a G-Shock Solar. It's on my Windows sill and time updates automatically every night to the atomic clock. It's great. There you go. But I tried several times. Oh, by the way, I've got to restart my computer at some point because the clock is way off on my computer for some reason. I don't know why that's happening, but I guess I'm going to have to restart it. Let's see here. I've tried the Z Blue on once at the AD, and I seriously considered it. Probably didn't notice the thickness at the time. Well, some people it doesn't bother them that it's a little bit thicker. I like, for example, the fact that a DATEJUST is only like 11.7 mils thick. That's one of the real benefits of some Rolexes is they're nice and thin. Even the Yacht-Master is, I think, 11.7 mils. So significantly thinner than a sub, for example. So that's why it sits so nicely on wrist. And that's the one nice thing I like about the Daytona. There's a lot of things I don't like about a Daytona. But the one thing I like about them is they're nice and thin. They're the same thickness, I think, as the, I think they're 11.7 mils. I think they're the same thickness as the Yacht-Master. So they sit really nice on the wrist. So to me, that's one of the main reasons to buy a Rolex is that nice, thin, the way they sit nice on the wrist. And you get that with a DATEJUST. You get that with a Day-Date. Day-Date's a little thicker than a DATEJUST because of the day of the week wheel, right? You get that with a Yacht-Master. You get that with an Explorer. You get that with an Oyster Perpetual. But as soon as you start throwing that Faraday cage in there, you're getting a little thicker. Maybe somebody can share in the chat the exact thickness of the Milgauss. And what's the other one that has the Milgauss Faraday cage in it? Is it the that one that doesn't get any love? The you guys know the one I'm talking about, the Air King or whatever. I think it has the Faraday cage in it. Let us know in the chat, folks. You guys know what I'm talking about. Come on. Let's see here. What about Omega? Okay. Seiko and GS are very good the way they design the case. Guys, spare a thought for rural Australia. Whole of Eastern Australia. Yeah, those fires are amazing. Yeah. Now, I would not say a blanket statement that GS's cases are great. Some of them aren't so great. Some of the case designs. But yes, they have a lot of case designs that are very good on the wrist and drape nicely on the wrist. But do be picky. Don't just grab anything. Just make sure, because some of them, not so much. What about Omega? Some of the Omegas are on the thick side. So if you don't mind that, then yeah, you're okay. But yeah, it depends on the model, but some of them are on the thick side. Try them on. I have come to Madrid 3 weeks ago for Christmas, but I will be going back to Panama soon. Okay, good. Craig, should I sell my Patek Calatrava and buy Seiko with the cash? I guess you're talking about a Grand Seiko. Let us know what model Calatrava you have. Give me a little more information. And then let me know kind of what Grand Seiko you're leaning towards. And then I'll be happy to try to answer your question. But I'm a fan of the Calatrava. And don't get me wrong, I'm a fan. But this gold stunner that I've got an eye on, I think in some ways trumps the Calatrava. That spring drive movement is hard to beat from a standpoint of reliability and all that, lack of expensive maintenance. With a Calatrava, with a Patek, when it comes time to service that puppy, you can get brought to your knees. So there's that factor to think about. Craig, okay, all right. The Speedmaster Apollo 2 limited edition is nice. Had one but flipped it for a profit. There you go. If you can get out for a profit, do it. Need to wind the computer. Yeah. Air King. Exactly. Air King. Yeah. Are the Australian fires affecting Archie? I hope not. Hope he's okay. I think the GS Godzilla looks cool. Unfortunately, GS is also charging a Godzilla price for $12,500. Yeah, well, that might be a good one to wait and buy used. So that might be the way to do that. Our Wags is in the house. He says, happy Saturday, and everybody. Hope everyone is doing well. In the new year, it's 2020. Absolutely. Oh, let's check and see. Bitcoin has been all over the place. It went down below 7,000 here in 2020. And let's see if I can get this to load in. We'll see what it's doing now. It's been a little bit volatile lately. So let's see. RE Seiko Kinetic. Mine has needed a capacitor replaced twice, and now it sits motionless in my watch box with its memories. There, Greg's in the house. Yeah, I had problems with mine too. So it looks like the last price is $73.29 on Bitcoin. $73.29. The page is unresponsive. I don't know why, but anyway, that's what I'm showing for the last price. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Let's see here. Amen. I don't know how to pronounce that. It says hi to everyone. Well, hi. Carlos, Thomas, Blue Shirt Buddha, our WAG says hi to a bunch of folks. So let's run through this one more time. This is the thought process. I've got the titanium Grand Seiko stunner for heavy sport use, day-to-day heavy use. Again, I don't baby any of my watches. I have this 005. This is powered by the 9F movement, this GMT, that I'm using right now for dress purposes. Let's get a close-up. Okay. And then we've got the possibility of this gold stunner to throw into rotation for dress purposes, for straight up dress purposes. Oh shoot, let me see if I can find the other pictures. I had some other pictures here. Here we go. And there's another look at that stunner on wrist. And the neat thing about this is it's got the spring drive, it's manual wind, it has a 72-hour power reserve. The power reserve indicator is on the back, which I like. I like a very plain dial like that, no date, just 3 hands. That's the way to go on a dress watch, in my opinion. I like the lugs, I like the shape of it. Very, very fluid, very elegant. Now it does have the deployant clasp. There's the platinum version. There's another look at the gold version. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. And let's see, where's the other pictures? I just had the other pictures up here. What the heck happened to them? Well, I had a blog to watch post here somewhere. Here it is. Here's a blog to watch. This has some better photos in it. And again, it comes in platinum, stainless steel, and gold. There's a nice shot of that dial. Pretty elegant, if you ask me. Pretty nice case design, very classic, very timeless. There's the back, and you can see the power reserve right there. Okay. There's another picture on wrist. I think it's very elegant, personally, and I think it could be a stunner. So we'll see. We'll see about all that. So that could be a 3-watch rotation, okay? Grab and go watch could be the 005. Grab and go because it's always running. It's got the 9F movement, so it's always running, right? Just grab it and go. You're good. You're good. Heavy daily use, the spring drive, that I've had for almost 2 years. In May, it'll be 2 years, and it's just been robust and just really getting the job done. And then as a specialty dress watch, when I want to wear something elegant, just wind that puppy up, set the time, and go. You don't have to worry about the date or anything, right? Because there's no date wheel. And so 72-hour power reserve. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about that? Now, there's none of them in the country right now. Steve checked with Grand Seiko. There are none in the country. He's trying to get a hold of one. So he's going to let me know if he can get a hold of one for me to look at, because I'm not going to buy anything sight unseen. So hopefully he'll get one, and I'll be able to go and take a look and firsthand and see what I think. The problem is, here's the problem with that, is I have a history of going over and looking at a watch at Steve's place and then leaving with the watch. So this could be a costly trip over to Little Treasury. If he gets one of these puppies in stock and I go over and take a look, we just might strike a deal. So we'll see how all that ends up working out. Let's see. Our Wag says, that's a beautiful watch. That is amazing gold stunner. Prefer yellow gold always. Absolutely. I'm yellow gold all the way, no doubt. Client gave me a Submariner recently, but thinking of replacing with the GS stunning titanium diver. Tim in the house. I wouldn't blame you one bit. I wouldn't blame you one bit. And Steve would give you a deal on one. If you want one new with your name on the paperwork, talk to Steve and tell him you know me. He'll give you a deal. And you'd be selling the sub at the top of the market. I really think we're at or near the top of the market. And I think the market is already starting to soften a little bit. I don't believe these YouTubers that say that they're just going to keep going up and up and up and up forever, that there's no bubble and so on and so forth. I don't think I buy that. Nice watch, but $25K. Yeah, it's a steep price. It's a healthy price on that watch, but you know, it's a hell of a watch. And you're not going to bump into somebody else with one on their wrist. I can tell you that right now. I mean, it's a rare bird. So yeah, it is pricey, but I think Steve will give me a decent deal on it. But yeah, it's pricey, but it's got that spring drive. It is a gorgeous piece. And you're going to pay, you're going to pay $20 for a Calatrava. So, and in my estimation, this is a step up from the Calatrava in my estimation, with the spring drive and everything. So yeah. So that's my thought process on that. This thing will run for decades. That'll run literally for decades without any service or anything. I mean, just wear it and enjoy it. That's what I like out of a watch. I like a watch I can just wear and enjoy and not worry about it. Let's see here. What do you think of the Globemaster? Got a pre-owned blue dial steel bracelet with box and papers, including service papers from Omega Boutique on eBay for $38.50. Globemaster. Let's take a look real quick. Omega, go back there and I'll find it here. Omega Globemaster. Give me a second. Globemaster. Da 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 da. Constellation Globemaster. That's a cool looking watch. Wow, look at that one. Look at that puppy. I guess that's rose gold. I wonder how thick that watch is. That's a cool looking watch, though. I'll grant you that. Yeah, I've seen this before. I think it's cool. I think it's hip. I think it's cool. Let me know how thick the one is that you got. What's the size of it? But yeah, 2 thumbs up on the Globemaster. I like those lugs. I like the shape of it. I like the look of it. Not a whole lot I don't like about that puppy. The gold is, let's see. That gold GS for 25K is one of the best. I've seen Pateks that don't look that good. Blue in the house. Buy your GS Gold Stunner and just be cheap for Valentine's Day. Well, I'm always cheap for Valentine's Day. Yeah, I'm a cheapskate, period. So, there's that. But I don't know. Sometimes a gorgeous young lady can bat her eyes at me, and sometimes I get a little bit generous. I get a weak moment, and I get a little bit generous when they bat those eyes at you. You can even a strong hand can weaken in that kind of a scenario. Let's see here. Do you think a Breitling A13370 is a good starter for me at 1800? I get nervous when people say a good starter for me. I would rather save up and really get the watch that you want and then keep it and wear it and enjoy it than think about getting a watch as a starter watch and then maybe flipping it and getting something else. If you're not really enamored with that watch, if it's not really what you want, I would save up some more money and get what you really want. So that made me a little nervous, the way you phrased that. As a good starter, is a good starter for me. And personally, if you want my personal opinion, I would not buy a Breitling. I would certainly buy a Grand Seiko over a Breitling. I'd buy an Omega over a Breitling. I'd buy a Rolex over a Breitling. On my radar screen right now are mainly for everyday heavy use watches. I'm talking now. Rolex, Omega, and Grand Seiko. Those are really the three brands that are on my radar screen. And to me, the others out there are in a no-fly zone. I just have no need to go there. So that's just my thought process. Duran, I need to accompany you to Steve's to act as bodyguards and negotiators. Absolutely. Well, maybe it'll coincide with one of his events. We'll see. But that would be very helpful to have some security and some backup if we're doing a deal. Absolutely. And Derek put a model number in here. Can some of you guys that are more familiar with the Breitlings and all chime in on that model of Breitling and give him some of your thoughts? It looks like it's a 39 mil watch. Because I'm not really familiar with that watch, and I'd rather not comment on something that I really am not familiar with, but some of the folks in the chat probably are. The money you saved over the years by limiting your use of running your heat and AC at the compound helps, Craig. Plus the bucks you earn with Bitcoin. Enjoy the GS. Blue in the house. If I get it, I will enjoy it. Trust me. I'm not going to spend that kind of money on a timepiece and not enjoy it. I will wear it. Absolutely I will. Yep. And again, I don't do these things hastily. I mean, I will see, touch, and feel it, and make sure that it's really what I want before I lock and load. I'm not going to buy it sight unseen. He's got to get one in stock for me to look at. That's how that's going to have to go down. And hopefully he can get one. I was surprised. Oh, excuse me. He checked with Grand Seiko, and there's none in the country. As of this moment, there are none in the country. So he's going to see what he can do about getting one. So, yeah. I thought you don't like wearing watches on straps. Well, see, I'm not a big fan of it, but I've had really limited experience. That gold GS that I had before had the standard clasp, and it didn't center properly, and it was just a little bit irritating, but not the end of the world. Once it was on, it was comfortable, but it didn't center right, and so it didn't line up on my wrist right. I'm hoping that this one with the deployant clasp will be more convenient to take on and off, and hopefully I can get it to center right and to work right. That's the reason why I'm going to have to see, touch, and feel it. If I try it on and I'm really uncomfortable with it, it just really doesn't seem to do right, then yeah, that'll be a deal killer. That'll be a deal killer. But by all accounts, the straps that Grand Seiko uses are very comfortable. They're very soft. They're very pliant. They're very comfortable. Tim talked about that in his video. But how well it's going to center on my wrist and how it's really going to feel, I won't know that until I try the puppy. But yeah, it's a good comment. I wouldn't go for Brighting if I were you. Go Rolex or GS. Yep. Calling yourself a cheapskate. Sure. Okay. Yep. Skip the Breitling. Actually, Mr. Jones, in some ways, I'm very thrifty, right? I don't spend much money in a lot of ways that other people spend money. And then I am able to save up and buy something really nice that I want and that I'm really going to use, because I don't have a lot of those other superfluous expenses. I don't go to Starbucks and buy expensive coffee. You know, I don't go out shopping and just buy things. I mean, I am in a lot of ways very thrifty so that I can save up and buy something nice that I like. That's the way I operate. And that's the way it is. Is that a watch you'd buy? What watch, Lance? What watch are we talking about now? We're talking about a lot of watches. Would Steve send the watch to Australia? Tim in the house. Well, he ships. Yeah, he ships watches around the world. He has customers around the world. So contact him. He would ship. I'm sure he would. Right now he doesn't have one in stock, but he's trying to get it in stock. So yeah, he could let you know if he gets one. And hopefully he'll get two, so I can get one and you can get one. But I know if he gets just one, he is going to give me the first right of refusal. I'm going to be able to go and look at it and get the first shot at it if he only gets one. But he is going to try to get a couple of them because he likes that watch too. So he says he's going to try to get a couple of them in stock. So we'll see. Our Wags and Durr will make an offer to Steve that he will not be able to refuse. There you go. Put a little pressure on him. What do you think about the Grand Seiko quartz watches? The 9F movement is fantastic. That's what's on my wrist right now. What do I think? I'm wearing one right now. This 9F GMT is fantastic. Let's get a close-up. Let's get a close-up look at this. So yeah, I'm a big fan. And when I first bought the diver, the spring drive diver, Steve said, well, you should also look at the 9F. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't want that. And and then I did a whole bunch of research on it, and I learned more about it. And I ended up getting the 18 karat gold 9F Stunner, and I had that for a while, and I sold it to a subscriber. And then when this model came out, I was enamored with it, and I needed something to kind of replace that other one that I'd sold. And so I went to one of Steve's events, and he had one of these. He held one for me, and I looked at it, and of course, I ended up leaving there with it, which is par for the course. And I love it. I love the 9F. Man, talk about just super accurate and robust. I mean, talk about a movement that will go for 50 years without any servicing. You just replace the battery every 3 years. You're going to have to do that. But you're not going to have to service it. You're not even going to have to think about servicing it. And I don't think I'm going to have to think about servicing that spring drive either for decades. That puppy's just going to run for decades and just not even worry about a thing. It's just going to do its thing. That's how these work. Robust, man. Let's see, Omega Globemaster annual calendar 41, approximately 22,000 USD. Do you think it's a great deal? Who knows, man? I'd have to do a lot of research on that. Yeah, I'd think that over a lot. Let's see, what else we got here? Carlos, we would like you to join us at one of Steve's events. I think he's going to be up this way in the spring. Hopefully there's going to be an event that lines up. Maybe all the stars will align, and he'll have an event when Carlos is up this way, and we can all rendezvous. We should all rendezvous at Little Treasury. It's always fun. Help. It's the white dial. I love it, but not mad in love with it. Okay, give this guy some help, folks. Steve's events look like a great time. They are, Blue. You should come. You definitely should come. I did a Google search, and Little Treasury reads it has the watch in stock, GS Gold 002. Well, I just talked to him yesterday, and not only does he not have one, but he checked with Grand Seiko and said there's none in the country. So I don't know, Joey. I don't know. We're getting different information then. Let's see. Maybe someday, but it's quite far from me. Yeah, but Carlos, you said you were coming up this way in the spring. I thought you said you were coming up this way. They are blue. Would you like to join the party? There you go. What is a reasonable price for a GS spring drive? I was thinking about buying one. Lance in the house. Are you talking about new, buying it new, or buying it used? The diver, the titanium diver, I've seen them go for as little as $4,500 is the lowest I've seen one go for used, and I've seen them go generally for around $5,000 used. And if you talk to Steve, he can tell you what price he could give you on one brand new with your name on the paperwork. The list price is $7,100. So that's the information I have on the diver. Now this watch here is around $3,000. This 9F movement stunner is around $3,000. And they have some models that are brand new that are in the low twos, like 2,200. I think they have a brand new model. So yeah, you're going to have to just kind of do some research. The prices vary, but depending on what you want to get. But for the GS spring drive in titanium, like I say, the lowest I've seen one go for used is like around $4,500. Usually they're around $5,000 used. And Steve could tell you what price he could get. Who is Steve? Is here in Maryland. Steve runs Little Treasury Jewelers, and there's a link in the description to littletreasury.com. And he's the AD for the Mid-Atlantic region here in Maryland, Virginia. He's the only AD in this area, in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. And he's the one I deal with that I bought my Grand Seikos from, except for the one that I bought on eBay. Yeah. I've bought 3 watches from Steve. I bought this one. I bought a snowflake, and I bought the one that I have on wrist right now from the Stevester. Nice gold cufflinks, 18 karat or 14 or 18 karat. These actually were a gift. They've got my initials on them, and they're actually just plated. They're not even 14 karat gold. But I'm planning on getting, if I do get the gold stunner, I'm planning on also getting some 14 karat gold cufflinks because I want them to be a little sturdier than 18 karat. But I'm planning on getting some nicer 14 karat gold cufflinks, and I think Steve will be able to hook me up with a real good deal on some of those. But these are just plated, but they look okay. But they were just a gift. I think it was some wedding I went to or something, and they gave us cufflinks, and these just are just some relatively cheap cufflinks that have my initials on them. I have some other cufflinks, but these are just the easiest ones to put on real quick, and they look okay. So yeah, that's what that is. The Omega Globemaster. Globemaster's pretty cool, I just said. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Craig, what do you think about the sturdiness of the 9F quartz watches compared to Rolex? I meant concerning magnetism and shock resistance comparable with Rolex. Shock resistance, the 9F is going to be stronger. The 9F is extremely robust movement, no doubt. Magnetism, I don't know. I don't think it's going to have a problem with magnetism either. I mean, I think that, yeah, from all accounts, the 9F is an extremely robust movement. So I don't think you have anything to worry about as far as durability there. Absolutely nothing to worry about. And the same goes with the spring drive. That spring drive movement is extremely robust by all accounts. And it's been around 20 years now. So there's that. Probably I will be around there in Easter. I'm finishing my pen. Perfect. That'll be perfect. That's probably going to be about the time he's probably going to be having an event. So hopefully the stars will align. Do you still have your Invicta 9937? No, I sold it. I sold it a few years ago. I sold all my other watches that I'd done reviews here on the channel. There are a number of them that I had done reviews, and I sold them because I just wasn't wearing them. So it doesn't do me any good to have watches laying around that I'm not wearing. So I sold a number of watches, including my SBGN005 Shogun. Sold that, which I really enjoyed that watch. I wore it for a number of years. But yeah, once I got this Grand Seiko Stunner, I wasn't wearing that one anymore. So it had to go down the road. If I'm not wearing them, they go. Yes, more shock resistant, absolutely. Okay, so wearing my 19-year-old Omega Seamaster a week ago after it sat in my safe for a few years. It is running 8-minute fast per day. Wow, is it magnetized or should it be serviced? Interesting. And it was running okay before you put it away? That's a good question. And I understand it's not that hard to anti-magnetize them. There's a procedure you go through to reverse that. So you might want to research that. But yeah, if you can't get to the bottom of it, I would definitely, I think you're going to have to get it serviced. See, that's why I love these Grand Seikos. I love the robustness and durability of these things, and you just wear them and enjoy them and don't worry about it. Okay, buying used, okay. Craig, have you worn the SARB? No, I have not. What are your thoughts on the SARB 033? I don't really have any experience with it, but I've heard a lot of people say positive things about them, but I think it depends on when they were made and all that sort of thing. I think there's been some quality control issues depending on what time it was built and so on and where it was built. I think some of them were made in Japan and some are made in China or whatever. Yeah, there's some issues, but I would research it some more and see what you can figure out. Peter had one serviced, and now it's running +2 per day. That's always good to be a little bit fast each day because it's easy to calibrate it when you need to. All right, folks. Real quick, if there's any questions, put them in the chat because I'm going to wrap this puppy up pretty soon, and I'd like to deal with any questions you have before I do so. Would it bother you at all to have a 3-watch collection all from the same brand? No desire to diversify. No, I don't. I wouldn't diversify just to diversify. No, I would only buy a different watch if there was some benefit in doing that. For many, many years, I had a 2-watch rotation, and it was Rolex. It was a Rolex Date and a sport watch, and most of the time it was a GMT 2, and for short periods of time it was a sub, but most of the time, for 40 years, it was a GMT for the lion's share of the time. Now, there was I have to correct that. There was an 8-year period where I had a Omega Seamaster 120 in rotation that was a quartz watch as my sport watch. And I didn't have a Rolex at that time in rotation with the Date. So I had the Date and the Omega in rotation. And the reason I did that was I started running into that problem that I mentioned earlier where I had trouble keeping both of the auto wind watches running giving them enough wrist time to keep them both running in rotation. I don't like to use a watch winder. So that's why I ended up getting the Omega, Quartz Omega from Colonial Jewelers here in Frederick. I bought that from them, and I wore that for about 8 years. And then I sold that. I wore the Apple Watch in rotation with the Date for a while. And then I wore the Shogun in rotation with the Date for a while. So the reason I would change a watch to something else is because there's some real benefit in doing that, not just to diversify brands or whatever. If I see a real benefit in changing to something else, I will do that. But right now, Grand Seiko is really hitting on all 8 cylinders for me. They're really working great and doing a great job, and so that's why I've got my eye on this stunner. Otherwise I wouldn't have my eye on that stunner if I'd had any kind of bad experience. Let me pull up another photo of the stunner. There's that stunner on wrist. So, and again, it's not a done deal by any means that I'm going to buy this watch. I mean, I'm considering it. Right now, I'm happy with my rotation. I've got this watch, which can go under the cuff, as you can see right here. It works under the cuff. And then I've got the titanium diver stunner. And so it's not like I'm unhappy with my current rotation. It's just that it might be really cool to have a super nice yellow gold dress watch to wear in rotation. Craig, do you like the SBGN005? Let's pull it up. SBGN005. Pull this puppy up and take a look. Okay, there she blows. Yeah, it's a nice looking watch. Would I want to spend more and get something in titanium? Possibly. I do like the titanium Grand Seiko watches. But yeah, that's a nice looking piece. Let's see if we can see what the dimensions are here. Yeah, it's 39 mils by 12.3 mils thick. So it's a nice size. It's a nice size for an all-arounder. Does it have a screw-down crown? Let's see here. Screw-down crown. Yes, it's got a screw-down crown. Yeah, given those dimensions, assuming you're going to be using it as a all-arounder, that could be a good move. That could be a very good move. Yeah, I'm impressed. I'm impressed, Kyle. Thank you, and thanks for telling me about Steve. He is 10 minutes away. I'm not buying that Breitling till I talk to Steve. Maybe something new. I want a person with, pop my cherry, with 200 grand. Okay. Yeah, definitely talk to Steve and tell him you know me. He's going to give you a good deal if you tell him you know me. And I don't get any commission or anything. He doesn't give me any kickback or whatever. He just likes to treat my subscribers and my viewers well because he knows that word gets around and that he's going to sell more watches that way. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, talk to him. He's a good guy. And he's got a huge selection there of all kinds of brands there. So he's going to have something that you're going to really like. And that's what I tell people is, buy a watch you really like, that's really comfortable on wrist, that you're really going to enjoy wearing. Because if we're spending a lot of money for these watches, then we really should enjoy them. That's my take on it. Craig buys to wear and use, not to collect. Absolutely. That's right. Let's see here. 3,800 new seems like a good deal. I have asked Steve to feature one at some point, but he hasn't shown one yet. Yeah, talk to him. Talk to Steve. See if he has one in stock. If he doesn't, I'm sure he can get one. I mean, he'll do that. He'll get one in stock. and then maybe he can show it on a show if you need to take a closer look at it or whatever. But he'll work with you any way he can. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm starting to get a little bit hungry. It's still early here. Let's see what time it is. It's 4 o'clock, but I haven't had lunch. So I'm going to have a lunch-dinner combination, and that's the way we're going to do that. Let's see. Oh, and by the way, let me know, the other day Brianna joined us for a live stream, and it was a lot of fun. She gave the female perspective on watches. She gave her opinion on whether or not some watches looked good or didn't look good or whatever. And people were asking her, okay, what's your opinion on this watch? And we brought up a picture, and she commented on it and so on. That was kind of fun. I kind of enjoyed that. Let me know if you think, let me know in the comments if you think that we should do that more often, that we should have Brianna on the live stream more often. Now, it's not something we can do like every other day or anything, but, if you think we should try to do it every couple of weeks or something, let me know, and we'll make a point of doing that when she's here hanging out. So thank you, everybody, for watching. And again, there are some links in the chat, and take a look at those, and definitely put your comments down. Make sure you're subscribed, and make sure you click on the little bell so that you will get notifications. And thank you, Nick, for the compliment. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, again for watching.